Hey everybody, it's the Golden Sound Twice, so I'm finally doing my Redwall review. Yay! So, I'm standing behind my bookshelf of Redwall and other books by Brian Jacques. I must get out of the way. But, so, Redwall, let's go. Let's talk about this. So, I'm gonna bring this down because my arms are tired. Alright. Hey! Alright, Redwall. What Redwall means to me. So, when I was a wee little girl, about 6 years old, I started reading books on my own. Like, you know, have help from my mom and whatnot. Well, anyway, so she was looking for different books, ended up getting Redwall, started reading it to me. I have a hair in my mouth, must get that out of the way. So she started reading Redwall to me, and I became enraptured by it. I loved Matthias. I identified with him so much. I love Cornflower, Constance, Basil Stakehair, Winifred, like, Abbott, just the shrews, everything. I loved it all. Loved it all so much. And so I would make her stay up until midnight reading me it. And she finally was like, no, I need to go to bed. You need to go to bed. We all need to go to bed. The Midnight Angel is going to come and get you. Krista, go to sleep. And I was like, no, I fight for Redwall. No one needs sleep. So she went to bed, and I, like the little shit that I am, crawled out of bed, grabbed a book, grabbed a flashlight, and read the entire thing. Like, read the entire book. And I'm going to sit down now because I'm tired of holiness. So, read the entire book. And so the next day, she was like, why is my child tired and, like, not responding to anything? What's going on with her? And then when it came to, like, nap time, I was, like, conked out. So that night, she goes to read it to me. I was like, oh, I already read it all. And she looks at me, she's like, but I wanted to find out what happens next. And I'm like, well, if you stayed up with me. So that was my introduction to Redwall. I just kept going. And then I think by the time I was on, like, so I just read Redwall and Madame Mayo. I think I hadn't read Martin the Warrior yet. I think I had just read Moss Flowers when the TV show came out. And so started watching that. And I loved the TV show so much. And granted, are there mistakes with the TV show? Yeah. There are a ton. And I will review the TV show later, so that's a different episode. But ultimately, I love the TV show because it put everything in my head to a visual format, because I'm a very visual person. So I love that about the TV show. But also, what I really liked about it was the fact that they had Cornflower as more of a, like, basically they took, like, adult Cornflower, like sassy adult Cornflower, and, like, just had her as a small child be already sassy. They were basically like, we see what you're doing, and we like what you're doing, Brian Jacques, but we're going to make Cornflower, like, a hella ton more sassy for this TV show. And I was like, yes, good, slay queen. So, anyway, but continuing on, so I loved Redwall so much. I had to take a break. However, after I read Martin the Warrior, when Rose died, sorry, spoiler alerts for those who haven't read it yet, but if you're clicking onto a link that says Redwall, I'm pretty sure you've read Martin the Warrior already, but if not, sorry. No, when she died, I was crushed. I was so heartbroken. I cried for months. I couldn't do it anymore. And so then I started getting back into the book slowly but surely, and then reread Martin the Warrior, and I literally threw the book across the room, and I was like, I'm done. I'm done with fantasy. I'm done with this entire genre. I don't want to see characters I love and care about die horrifically, you know, and have people be brokenhearted. It was too real for me. Like, this thing that was supposed to be fun and enjoyable, this fantasy world, became too real. It hit me hard in the soul. And so I completely changed myself. Like, I changed my personality. I changed the things I was into. I kind of I'm gonna move. I didn't really change the people I hung out with, but like a lot of me changed, like all because of that book right there, Martin the Warrior, right there. Brian, you ruined me. Ruined me, Brian. But yeah, no, it definitely, it broke something inside of me, and I didn't heal from it for a really long time. So I started watching shows that weren't me. I started being a person that wasn't me. I tried so hard to, I was like, I'm not going to do sci-fi, fantasy. I'm not doing this genre. I'm not going to be this person. So I tried to be like, you know, the cool kids that, you know, I saw at my church. And I did not fit in with them. I couldn't be myself because it wasn't who I was. But that's who I was trying to change myself to be, so I wouldn't have to endure such heartache again. Well, I went to go, so I was that person for a while, really didn't like myself, and then I had a breakup with my first boyfriend, went to go, ironically enough, to see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and brought me right back into the fantasy sci-fi world. I was like, yes, these are my people, this is the shows I like, these are the characters I like, this, like, characters that are human without being human. Like, this is what humanity is supposed to look like. This is what humanity is supposed to be like. And so fell back into the Redwall universe thanks to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So go figure. So, and then I really struggled with depression, and my whole world was changing. My parents were getting divorced, and I just wasn't dealing well. Like, everything I knew and loved was changing. So I read Redwall. And we keep reading all these books, and I fell in love again with all of these characters and these stories. And yeah, are all these characters and stories, like, well, are the stories all similar to a degree? Yeah. Are all the characters similar to a degree? Absolutely. Like, but that's what was so nice about it in a way. It was like, you knew what you were getting into. You were opening up a world in which you could be a part of, that you could enjoy, if that makes sense. You know, it's like, well, I mean, not just that, because obviously that's what you always have when you're reading or writing or watching a movie or something like that, but it was like, it's nostalgic. There's just something about Redwall where when you get into it, when you're, oh, it's almost hard to describe, but it's like, each new book, each new adventure, it's so, each new character, they're also new and different all at the same time. They have this sense of nostalgia to them, this sense of, like, you belong there. You belong in Redwall. It was a place of home and love that I wasn't feeling at that time. And I felt like I belonged in this place. I felt like I wanted to be there, and I wanted to be in Redwall so badly. I wanted to be like an otter or something like that. You know, like, I wanted to be a part of this universe where I felt like, yes, this is where I belong. But, you know, and then, you know, slowly but surely, I had new interests. I did new things. Sorry, the camera's so shaky. I'm trying to pull up something as we're talking, but, like, I had new interests. I did new things. I made friends. I started, like, I was able to come out of that depression. So, you know, Brian really helped me. Brian Jacques really helped me with that, coming out of that place where I, you know, this dark space that I had been. And then, and so I was able to kind of, like, go on and do things without it, and then I came back to it again, because depression again, and I fell back into it. And then when my friend Aquel died, and a lot of you on Tumblr were there for me when that was all happening. Like, I had just gotten into the Redwall fandom, like, just was starting to get into it all, and then my friend was tragically killed in a car accident, and I couldn't function. I didn't know what to do. And so on Tumblr, if you haven't gone to Tumblr to be on the Redwall fandom, you really should. Everybody there is so kind and loving and caring, and they made the community that I had always dreamed of as a child feel real, and they were there for me, and I only pray that I can be there as much as they were for me. Yeah, it was an incredible feeling, and It still is. And even though like, so my battle with depression gets better, it gets worse, and even when I'm not reading the books right now, I'm trying to read them in chronological order, you know, but I'll explain that in a second. But long story short, though, it's that, like, is that, you know, the Redwall fandom is an incredible fandom. You all are amazing. I hope you all, every single one of you, know that. Like, whatever you're struggling with right now, whatever, you know, you're feeling, just know that you guys really helped me. And I think that Brian would be so proud of every single one of you all, because you have taken the community that he wrote about and made it in real life. And so I think, you know, that's really awesome. But about the Redwall books, by the way, to gain more into it, for those of you who know nothing about Redwall, I suppose I should explain a little bit. Redwall is a book series. There's 21 books of anthropomorphic mice and rats and voles and moles and badgers. Yeah, badgers, Redwall badgers, woo! But it's like, so it's a medieval England, Ireland, Scotland kind of feel, Wales, like, it has this really timely, it's just this nostalgic feeling. Every time I open up one of the books, I feel like I'm actually there at the Abbey. And, sorry, by the way, that my thumb keeps appearing. It's not that thumb. But, no, it's just like this very incredible feeling whenever you read it, and the characters. I'll have to make a separate video of my favorite books and my favorite characters, because there are so many. Like, you can't have just like one favorite character. I feel like you have to have a group of favorite characters from each book, because each one is unique and yet so similar, but yet so different. And it's just very interesting how he wove it all together. The fun thing, so if you're trying to get into Redwall and you're like, well, shit, there's 21 books. Where do I start at? I can help you, friend. Literally doesn't matter. This is how Brian wrote it. He wrote it so that you could pick it up anywhere. It doesn't matter if you start with with the books that he published. Like, if you start in the chronological order of the way that he published them, if you start in the chronological order that finally somebody was like, your system is driving me crazy, this is totally disorganized, here's how this fucking shit works, you know, like, character-wise, like, timeline-wise, like, where does that, like, so there's the chronological order of things that he published, the chronological order of where he started, like where the timeline starts. Or if you're just walking on the aisles and you see a book and you see, like, you know, Pearls of Lutra or Triss, and you're like, that looks really interesting, and you pluck that off the bookshelf, that is also okay. You can read this series however you want. I've read them all in the way that they were published. I've read them all in the way that I felt like reading them, just plucking it off the shelf and being like, let's try this. Now I'm trying to read them in the chronological order, which is very, like, the timeline version, which is interesting, because then you start seeing where, like, little pieces connect. You're like, oh, this character is related to this character. Oh, and so that's been really interesting. So I'm currently on Outcast of Redwall. It's the book I hate the most in the entire series. I will make a video about that later. But, long story short, Redwall's incredible. I highly recommend it. As everybody knows on Tumblr, my favorite is the one that was first published, Redwall itself, because I connected to Matthias on such a spiritual level. I was a bumbling little idiot as a child, and I felt like I had so much greatness and potential in me, but I didn't know how to get it out. And then I just, you know, I have yet to find my Martin the Warrior. I have yet to find my own legend. So maybe I'm not so much like Matthias as I thought I was, but I've been compared to Meryl a lot, which is really awesome because she's so badass. Bae. But long story short, it's like, you know, it's however, like, I connect to Matthias just so much. Somebody that tries so hard and has such good intention and huge daydreams and doesn't feel like he himself is worth, like, a lick of salt by himself, but then finds out that he has all this courage inside of him and that he has this burning soul, this desire just to do what's right. It's like, I identified so heavily with that as a child, and I still do now as an adult. But, so thank you all for staying with me for so long. I wrote a poem many moons ago. Actually, it was around the time that Aquil had died. So I wrote this poem about Redwall, and I don't think I've ever performed it really for anybody in the fandom before. So, and I just actually did my first open mic poetry slam. So I did that for the first time. Oh, this got shaky. I'm sorry. So I did my first poetry slam open mic the other night, and it was a lot of fun. I was petrified, so I did not perform the pieces as well as I would have liked, but everybody was very encouraging, and they were like, oh my gosh, please come back. We really do want you back. And you could tell it wasn't they weren't doing it to be like, oh, yeah, I suppose you can come back if you must. Like, it was actual like, hey, we liked your shit. Bring it back again. And I was like, damn, well, okay. And like, do I need to take poetry slam classes? Yeah, I do. Yeah, because I like read it so fast. But, so here we go. So this is the piece that I performed. It's called Unite My Soul Once More with Redwall. And so for those of you who are deciding, do I want to read this series? Do I not want to read this? Or those of you who haven't like read it for a while and need to like find a way to get back into it, or just for the fans who have been there always, you know, here's a poem about Redwall. Not too long ago, I was asked what reminded me the most of home. And with pale, trembling lips, I had to reply it was a place that my foot has never once No! No, and I am not going to restart this video, and I don't know how to edit this out yet, so that was a major blooper. Enjoy! Shall I try again? Let's try this again, shall we? Not too long ago, I was asked what reminded me the most of home. And with paled, trembling lips, I had to reply it was a place that my foot has never once graced the threshold of. Yet, I know every nook and cranny better than I know my own naked body. How one is transported is quite easy. You only need read the 1 or 21 of a dear Englishman's books, in which he added traces of his heart and drops of his soul. Now, even more powerful than fairy dust, my imagination simply shows my heart's desires and transports me through those big wooden abbey gates. It doesn't take much to bring me to the courtyard. It can be when I am in the mountains or swimming in a clear glacier lake. Lately, I have passed by a giant puddle and seen the golden leaves it reflects in the waters. I blink, and there I am, admiring red and golden bricks and the giant bell tower, the bells calling my name. Soft, green grasses tickle the soles of my feet as I journey back towards Redwall Abbey. Legends of warriors brave and kind, woven into a giant tapestry, bring me back every time. So many tales, they outnumber the stars in the sky. The warmth of old friends and the wafting scents from the kitchens greet me. Amused by dibbons and daisy chains, I find myself strolling through flowers and gardens, their scents sweeter than honey. Warm is the wind that caresses me like a romantic embrace as evening approaches with the smell of autumn and burning bonfire wood. If nostalgic had a taste, it would be the food a fat friar can provide during the festival, and if it had a sound, it would be Celtic music. I find my soul dancing around bright orange flames that look out towards the sky, swirling with destiny on my right, and a dear friend on the left, while we kick up our heels and pray for peace and adventures. It's only when I blink that I realize the split second has passed and my journey has come to an end. Though tears remain fresh in my eyes as I continue on my path, I know that one is always welcome back. All that I ask is to have my soul united once more with Redwall.